The Ohio State Buckeyes beat the Penn State Nittany Lions 38-14. It was 17-14 at the half. Penn State recovers a fumble that they forced, and they cash it in with a score to make it 17-14 at the half. Ohio State scores 21 unanswered points. They begin to mix up their coverages. Grugmeyer doesn't see the field well. Kotelnicki calls a bad game, especially in the second half. Was calling a good game in the second quarter. But things just fell apart. And from a coaching angle, from a roster angle, from a quarterback angle, this channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. Ohio State was the better team. They covered, so Ohio State still undefeated against the spread. I think they are 7-0-1. They're the only team left in football perfect against the spread. At some point, that is going to break. I don't think there's ever been a team who's undefeated against the spread. So Ohio State outperforming the books. They'll have to recalibrate there. The books will. I said in my preview and prediction that Penn State would either make this a really close game or Ohio State would win in a blowout. I hedged between the two, taking the average, and I picked Penn State to cover, but Ohio State to win by 14 to 17 points. That was just a little bit too conservative. I was correct in the sense that it would go one way or the other, but incorrect in hedging between that. Should have picked one way or the other. Look, Ohio State is one of the best teams in America, if not the best, and whether it is S&P Plus or whether it's FPI or ESPN's efficiency or FEI, there are really only anywhere from 1 to 2 and maybe 3 teams that are in their tier here. Indiana is either ahead of them or just behind them in every power rating. They're catching up to Ohio State national title odds. Oregon, in some metrics, especially FEI, is pretty close to Ohio State as well. And Alabama, in terms of title odds, the books view them as the best non-Big Ten team. So the Buckeyes are in a tier of their own right now. Penn State was able to run the football fairly effectively in the second quarter. You wouldn't know that from the final stats, but we don't like to include sacks against rushing yards. Sacks are more of a quarterback stat. Julian Sayin showed that yesterday where he got pressured 15 times. Ohio State's offensive line did not have a good day. They got beat. But Julian Sayin was able to maneuver the pocket, get the ball out effectively. His footwork is perfect. I mean, you can tell that he's well coached. He has great arm strength, elite NFL accuracy, and the chemistry with his receivers is on point. That is part of the reason why his completion percentage is so high, because he knows his receivers, their strengths, what they can do. His receivers are the 2 best in America. There's nothing they can't do, as evidenced by Tate winning possession catches all year and Zakee Wheatley batting that Julian Sayin pass, and Jeremiah Smith still makes a circus catch with his one hand. It's an incredible operation that Ohio State runs. Right now, as someone I trust said in a text to me, they are the program. And I've said for a while here, I've actually been more adamant this year that Ohio State's the number 1 program than I have been in that Ohio State's the number 1 team. I don't know if they're the number 1 team yet. And the metrics would agree with that. They're definitely in that upper tier, but Indiana is punching with them. Oregon is punching with them. Alabama, if they played an easier schedule, would probably be punching with them in the metrics, and the sportsbooks certainly think that Alabama's punching with them. But to be in the top 4 after all they lost, the coordinator changes, starting a redshirt freshman quarterback, and going, starting 8-0, 5-0 in Big Ten play, and being the favorite to win the Big Ten is what a job by Ryan Day. I mean, they are the best program in America. I don't really think it is particularly close right now. I'm not saying they will be in 5 years, not saying they were 5 years ago, but here and now, real conversation, objective fact, they're the number 1 program. as the defending national champions and the favorites to win it all this year. Some interesting player information. Sayin had more passing touchdowns than incompletions. 4 touchdowns, 3 incompletions. Ohio State ran for 5.1 yards per carry, and I saw some people say there were encouraging signs from the run game. I don't think running against a Penn State rushing defense that sucked entering the game later is all that good of a sign. What I mean by that is Bo Jackson's 51-yard carry, which is the only reason why they averaged more than 4 yards per carry, came much later in the game when it was already put away. Like, that's saying that all of Indiana's nearly 400 rushing yards against Maryland, for example, that all of them were of equal weight. That's not true. Now, fortunately for Indiana's sake, we know their rushing offense is good because they've been able to run the ball in game when it's competitive and use that to control their opponents. Ohio State's rushing offense is really only useful for burning clock. It's not really effective at moving on the ground. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Penn State, I actually think, in terms of running back and O-line, ran the football better. Ohio State's passing offense is just that good. Their defense is better. I mean, Jim Knowles got absolutely cooked by Brian Hartline and Ryan Day. Ethan Grunkmeyer, I thought, had a good game going against this defense, and with the bad play calling that he had, I actually think he did well. I think Penn State might do well in keeping him on their roster. But this was the Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, and Carnell Tate game. They are the best trio of offensive players in America right now. Julian Sayin, Carnell Tate, and Jeremiah Smith. The odds that Ohio State gets 2 players invited to the Heisman Trophy ceremony is growing. It's high, for sure. As for the rest of the season, for Penn State, you're 3-5, you're 0-5 in conference play. You are the first preseason top 2 team to lose 5 games in a row in college football history. It's been rough, and it's not going to get easier when you play Indiana at noon, and Indiana will probably make the stadium part crimson, part red, and they're favored by double digits, and they'll probably cover the spread against you in the same way that Ohio State did, because Indiana's that good. It's not going to be easy traveling to Michigan State or hosting Nebraska or hosting Rutgers. There's a good chance this team goes 3-9. There is a chance, a slim one, that this team goes 6-6. More likely than not at this point, they're probably missing a bowl game. It is what it is. Terry Smith has put forth a good effort. The team isn't totally quit, although you can tell that they're not putting forth the same effort they did against Oregon, for example, or even the first 3 games that were questionable, but they were trying. This has been a messed up year from the get-go. Always was going to be, with the circumstances that we now know behind the dysfunction preseason, with how Nittany has called the season, with how Jim Knowles hasn't properly assessed the defense for whatever reason, or if he has, well, Penn State's personnel is just the worst defensive personnel that they have had probably in the Franklin era outside of maybe the first 2 years. It's been rough. We'll talk later this week about some of the coaching candidates that I think would fit at Penn State. Regardless, I strongly believe that Penn State will upgrade from James Franklin from a head coach and CEO standpoint along with resources. So I believe Penn State's future as a program is rather bright. For Ohio State, your only test for the remainder of the year is Michigan. There was a chance you were going to get it against Penn State. With how that game played out, no. I mean, Ohio State led the whole way. They dominated through the air. And from the third quarter onwards, it wasn't even a close game. Texas thought was going to be a test, but again, they led for much of the game. It was the first game of the year, and as Florida State and Alabama fans know, as Ohio State fans know, going from week 1 Julian Sayin to week 10 Julian Sayin, teams can change in 10 weeks, especially when you're starting a new quarterback and when you lose as much production as Ohio State did. So they're a different team now. Same with Texas, same with Alabama, same with Florida State. Many of these teams are different from where they were in week 1. So before the playoffs, which they're a lock to make, before the Big Ten championship game, which they're not quite a lock to make, but they're likely to go, their only remaining test of the year is on the road against a Michigan team that beat Purdue 21-16 in his 2 losses. So this Ohio State team, I know that they are top 4. I know that they are one of the best teams in America. I know that more likely than not they're top 2. After this Saturday, I will tell you for my top 10 ratings tomorrow, I will still have them number 1. I kind of want to see how Penn State does against Indiana before I make that move of going with the power ratings trends and picking IU as the number 1 team. I kind of want to see what they do against Penn State. But I don't know if Ohio State's actually number 1 or not. I mean, every chance that they've had to be tested, they've passed with flying colors, but they haven't played Oregon on the road. They haven't played some of the teams that Alabama's played. I know people are going to be mad when I say that. The only point I'm making in saying that is we thought that Penn State was going to be number 1 versus number 2 preseason. Many people did, even a lot of Buckeyes. We thought that Texas would at least be a top 5 team. They are not that. This team is ridiculously good. They are. They're incredibly good. But before we crown them as national champions, let's let the season play out. I would pick them to beat Michigan right now, but then again, they haven't beaten Michigan since 2019. So we'll see what happens there. Big win for Ohio State. You didn't want, I think, to be tested here against this Penn State team with the effort they put forth. You pulled away in the second half, scored 38 points, and right now I would predict Julian Sayin to win the Heisman Trophy. He might even win it if they miss Indy and lose to Michigan with the numbers and completion percentage that he's putting up. That's it. Ohio State dominates Penn State. They cover the 18.5. What more can I say? Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.